What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Cheese Talk podcast. I'm joined today. Well, I'm your host, Brian. I'm sorry. I'm joined today by Lindsey in Oklahoma. That is her Twitter X hashtag or user tag. Huge Packer fan, huge Oklahoma Sooner fan, and a huge diving fan.
Absolutely.
How's it going?
Pretty good today. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. A
Yeah.
little windy up here, windy down there.
Very windy down here. We were having 70-mile-an-hour winds all day yesterday, and so lots of wildfires, lots of trees down, fences down all over town. So I think we're all
Yeah.
trying to do some repairs today. Yeah.
And you said your husband's out fixing the fence while you're
Yes, he's out
talking
fixing the fence
sports.
while my dog watches from inside and goes berserk. So
Suppose your dog probably wants to go out there and grab some of the fence and take off with it.
absolutely. And a bunch of the branches that are down, he loves to move them around the yard. So
Yeah, right.
yeah.
um, First, I want to start with how do you think the Packers did last year? I mean, I know we lost obviously in the playoffs, but what's your overall, I guess, thought on how the Packers did last year?
Yeah, I think it was kind of a hard season to judge because we were a little bit injury plagued last year, especially with, Jordan Love getting hurt in the first game. And I think he kind of battled that all season, probably to more of an extent than they were really publicizing. So I think it's hard to kind of get an accurate gauge on the offense. Obviously, we had dealt with some receiver injuries and everything as well. But for me, the shining spot of last year was really our defense. I really, really enjoyed watching Xavier McKinney play for Green Bay. I think he was such a game changer, such a difference maker with all those interceptions. And I can't wait to see what they do this year.
Yeah. Now, for couple first few days of free agency this year, I was sitting there like, do something, do something. But our defense really wasn't that broken. We have
Mhm.
the right tools. We just got to learn how to get them to go after the quarterback. And everyone was like, "Oh, we should trade Job," which we still might do closer to the draft. But I was thinking if he comes back like 100%, and we can like benefit off of him being 100%. I
Mhm.
mean, why not try to keep him around as long as you can if he's playing at 100% and draft defense in the draft? But I'm not against keeping Jair. What about you?
Oh no, me either, not at all. I mean, I think he's a difference maker in terms of players, and obviously we want to see him out there for more games than we have been seeing him play. If he can stay healthy, like I said, I think he is that game changer, and especially with some of the additions that we've made already. Particularly one at defense who seems like he can play almost anywhere. I think it'd be great to have those two guys back there together and see what they could do. So I'm also in the camp where I hope that things turn around for John and we get to keep him and get to see the full extent of what he's capable of, and hopefully he gets that big extension.
Yeah, because I mean he's still young. He still has, if he's healthy, he still has a lot of good years ahead of him.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that,
I don't want to see any other team get him. I mean, we want to be the beneficiaries of that talent, so I'm hoping they can make him happy and reach a deal and get him to stay.
right, and even like if we do say he's still in a contract this year, so I don't think
Mhm.
that'll be an issue. But if we are able to if we do keep him, and he comes back healthy for this upcoming season,
Mhm.
and teams don't throw at him, the more reps on the opposite side of the field will get the other cornerbacks
Mhm.
more play and get them better. So I think it's a win-win if you think about it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's a lot of like collaboration that can be done on that side of the ball, and I think that he, obviously has a lot of talent that I think younger players could learn from. Just he, needs to stay healthy and be able to be out there for us.
Right. What do you think about AJ Dillon going to the Eagles?
Well, first of all, my husband hates the Eagles. Obviously, he's a Cowboys fan, so no love lost there. It's sad to see someone like AJ go. I think he was so good, especially for the city of Green Bay, and his nickname, Mayor of Door County, all of that. I think it's so cool to see his involvement in the community, and I think has really shown some heart while being in Green Bay. Obviously, it didn't go his way last year with the injury and everything, and I don't know how long his contract is with Eagles or exactly what the details were of that signing. But I'd like to see him bounce back from that injury and have a good season, but maybe not one that impacts Green Bay directly in any way.
Right. I just the thought of him and Barkley in the backfield with the quads is just crazy.
Yes, yes, very crazy.
I think they signed him to a 1-year contract. I can't.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was
But
probably thinking it would be.
yeah. Um, what are your thoughts? Overall thoughts? I know you talked about McKinney. What are your
Mhm.
thoughts on Josh Jacobs on what he proved last year?
Oh my gosh, I think he proved like he could win games by himself if he needed to. I mean, I just feel like with some of the struggles we had at wide receiver, he really stepped up and made those big plays, and he showed, a lot of longevity in games. Like he would play every snap. He, was gaining yards when it didn't look like he could. He just finds a way to get his feet moving and to move that ball forward, and I think that's so great. It was a little bit unfortunate that a lot of those times when he's picking up those first downs, we dealt with a lot of penalties and bringing the ball back sort of situations. So I think maybe we need a little bit more discipline so that those, penalties aren't happening when we get those big gains. But certainly, I think he's a massive, massive part of the offense moving forward. I think he proved exactly what he can do and why Green Bay wanted to sign him.
Right, and you mentioned some of the penalties that got brought back. Hopefully, bringing in this Aaron Banks from San Francisco will help. I
Yeah,
was
absolutely.
looking up.
Some
He
more
had
experience back there, so young guys can learn from. Like I said, hopefully they can be a little bit more disciplined this year and not give up those big yardage plays when Jacobs is getting them for us.
yeah Banks. I mean, he's only 27 years old. He's had like over 1,500 snaps, and he's only given up 2 sacks. So
Yeah, so those
that's
are some pretty good numbers.
yeah, it's a good numbers. And we lost Josh Myers. I think went. I forgot where he went,
Mhm.
but he signed with. Should have had this written down, but I've been crazy busy with other stuff in my life today.
Yeah,
um, he went to the Jets. Go
of
figure, right?
course. Of course,
But
yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is gone. Devontae Adams is gone. Devontae, for a while I thought maybe he can come back on a friendly deal in Green Bay. And it's like, well, if he comes back, the money he's going to want is going to hinder us from keeping, maybe retaining some in-house talent that we
Yeah.
already have. And the cards have fallen, like Seahawks, which leaves a rookie, pretty much a rookie, JJ McCarthy in Minnesota because he was hurt all last year with his ACL or whatever. And it's
Mhm.
like you always see the name Aaron Rodgers lingering, like following Brett Favre's footsteps. What would you do
Yeah.
if Rodgers went to the Vikings?
I mean, at this point, like I'm ready for this trifecta to happen, and I can't really be be surprised by it if it does. But it's obviously heartbreaking as a Packers fan and as an Aaron Rodgers fan to just see him go to enemy territory. Like we're not we don't need to repeat this whole experiment. I think we know it didn't really necessarily go that well for Brett in Minnesota. Um, uh, Regardless of what happens, I hope he gets to play if he wants to play. I just prefer it, not be there. So I don't know. I guess time will tell what ends up
Yeah,
happening with it.
well, Brett, you remember against the Saints. Well, remember that game against the they bonus knocked the hell out of them all game long.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and especially with Roger's age and everything, I don't know that he's got a lot more
I,
games where he can get knocked around like that without being injured. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I guess I wouldn't be super surprised since we've
right.
been here before. But it's unfortunate. I hope that there's another option for him that's not Minnesota.
Yeah. Oh my! I just noticed my name in the corner says Iowa Joe. I'm not Iowa Joe.
I was gonna say, I was like, you're not Joe, but here we are.
Here, let me. Can I fix that? Yeah, just give me a second. I'm so professional here. I'm sorry.
No, I was logging in thinking like, is Joe gonna be in here today?
All right.
Yeah.
Did it change?
It did, yes.
Awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I'm not Iowa Joe. I just noticed that. Like I said, I was watching basketball all day long, and it's like to the last absolute second, had a quick popped up this link, and I didn't really do the fine details. I apologize. What are your thoughts on Devontae going to the Rams?
Obviously, I think a lot of us Packers fans had that pipe dream of, Tay will come home and we'll have this great reunion and we'll watch J Love throw to him and it'll be spectacular. And, it didn't happen. So I'm happy that he is, going somewhere else where he's going to get to play. I know, he's obviously has some years left in him, and I hope it goes well for him. I wish it could have worked out for him to stay, to come back and be with us, and I think a lot of fans did too. But I'm excited to see him have a good season. I think he's still capable of producing big numbers and doing well in games, and so I hope we get to see a little bit of that with his new team.
Oh, especially with Matt Stafford too.
Yeah, exactly. You've got experienced quarterback throwing to him. I think that's what he's used to. So hopefully it goes well. They can build a connection and sort of moving forward in his career. I don't know how long of a deal he's on. Was it 3 year? I can't remember what
I think it's a
the
3 year
details.
deal.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess got some time to figure it out, and hopefully they get to work and can have a good partnership and produce some good results.
Yeah, I'm just happy for him. I think he did his time in Green Bay. I don't think he
Yeah,
owes us anything, to be
absolutely
honest.
not. No.
You know, uh, he was. I mean, that offseason where he was still with the Packers, he was building the home in Vegas. He knows what he's doing. It's like
Yeah.
he whatever, and he's going back home to probably finish out his career back in California where he's from. So I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it all makes sense, and I'm happy for him.
Absolutely. Did you watch that Netflix series Receiver and see him on there?
No, I
Oh, it
didn't.
was pretty good. It was pretty good. I enjoyed watching it.
Does he have a Taco Bell in his house?
No, he does not have Taco
No.
Bell in his
Okay.
house.
Okay.
At
The
least
commercial
if he does, they did not show it on the show. So I guess I shouldn't say for sure, but
the commercials lie then.
yeah, they do.
No, I'm just happy for him. He did his time.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't think he owes Green Bay anything. He came in and he's professional and he didn't make noise on the way out like some other people do. And he's a
Yeah.
professional and like you
Yeah,
got to respect that.
he's a great dynamic player, makes big plays, and hopefully we can see some more games and some examples of him doing that still. So, like I said, it's unfortunate that it's not with us, but I don't know that there was ever any truth to that rumor or any possibility that was going to become reality. So I'm glad he's got somewhere to be at, and look forward to watching him this season. Oh, I lost your
Right.
sound.
Sure.
Sorry.
What? Maybe there might be a delay.
Oh, maybe. Okay.
Better.
Yes, it's better.
Okay. So you mentioned last year the defense. Really stuck out for you. What
Hmm.
what parts of the defense do you think need improvement this year compared to last year?
Well, like you said, I think it'd be great to see our defense go at the quarterback some more. I think that's an area where we can develop and hopefully some more experience and some more another year of age with our guys and having a good leader and somebody like McKinney and all that can produce a little bit more of that. I'd like to see them go after the quarterback a little bit more. I think get some more sacks in games.
What are your thoughts on Adrian Cooper? How he performed last year?
Oh my gosh, it was just like the beginning of the season, I think I didn't really know what to expect. Of course, he was a great player in college, and so you have high hopes for him. But it just seemed like throughout the season, like he just continued to progress and build and get better and better. And so if we can start out this season where we ended last, like I think we're in a great place with him. I think him and Evan Williams both showed that they can be really big bright spots for this team on defense.
Right. A big guy that I kind of hoped for more production out of was Luke Van Ness. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah. It was interesting because I felt like I didn't really see him out there all that much until maybe like and then toward end of season. It was like the second half of the season I started seeing him a little bit more. I don't know if there was an injury or something he was dealing with. But man, what team are we playing where it must have been Tennessee where he laid out Levis like how many times? I mean, it was
Right.
cool to see. So he's got that capability, but I would like to see him be a little bit more consistent, and so hopefully he can prove that this year, just by even being out there a little bit more and giving him some more chances.
Right. Another reason why I want to see Alexander back is I don't want to see Nixon keep on getting burned. I mean, Nixon, he wasn't always getting burned, but when he was, it was huge. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. I like that he can play on both sides of the ball. I mean, especially in terms of like special teams and returning and all that. Uh, Really dynamic as well. He's obviously very fast, and that bodes well for us. But yeah, certainly having Job back there, I think, is kind of what we all want to see. As long as he's able to be out there.
Right. Yeah. I was always a Stokes supporter.
Hmm.
But I mean, he's been hurt more than he's been healthy, and it's just like it was just time for him to I think move on. And then what solidified my thoughts about him was his presser with the Raiders because he went to Las Vegas, right?
Hmm.
So he's like, oh, Green Bay, I love Green Bay a lot, whatever. But he's like, but they're past 10 o'clock. There are no restaurants that were open, and it's like, dude, I'm thinking, how can I
Eat
make this
earlier. I
funny? I
don't.
was
I
like, well,
mean,
you're so busy getting cooked in Green Bay on the field that you're just mad they're not open.
yeah.
Be self-sufficient.
What was that one? He had one really great season. What was it? At least a couple of years ago, I guess. Can't remember how long he was there, but there was
His
one
rookie
really
year.
great season, his rookie year, where he was making some really great plays. And then I think we are all kind of, waiting and hoping to see those flashes of greatness again. And I just think like, like you said, between the injuries, like we just didn't get to see it. So hopefully he's happier. I mean, obviously he'll have no problem finding somewhere to eat after 10 p.m. And I guess that is what was important to him. So
Especially in Vegas, right?
exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Hopefully he doesn't, follow that trend with a lot of these Vegas players of getting in trouble at night.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah, you mentioned Evan Williams. Do you think he makes a big step next year?
I hope so. I mean, obviously this rookie year there were some places where he made a couple of errors, but I think who doesn't coming into the league, and I definitely think that there were really bright spots from him. So I'm hoping to see more. I hope that he's able to continue this upward trend of making big plays. Certainly, him back there with McKinney, both of them back there, and Edge. I think that all three of those guys together like really build up our defense, and so I'm excited to have another year watching them play together. And then of
Right,
course throwing Hobbs in there as well. I think will be has been should be a great addition for us.
right. And I think if, like I said, if we do keep Jair, hopefully by the quarterback avoiding throwing to him, he'll throw to Hobbs' side, which will make Hobbs better. So it just hopefully it all works out. Then you got McKinney, the
Hmm.
back half of the field protecting, the over, and
Yeah.
maybe we'll have Nixon running around in there somewhere. But I think we need to have more like exotic blitzes. Like blitz are fast guys. Like
Hmm.
like last year McKinney had a couple of sacks, Nixon had a couple of sacks. Um, you just gotta be creative. If you guys on the line, if your front seven aren't getting to the quarterback, you need to make adjustments to
Hmm.
get someone to the quarterback because a receiver is going to outrun a cornerback in a 10-second route. I mean, it's just they shouldn't be chasing a receiver for 10 seconds. There's no way. You
Right.
know, they're
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
going
Put
to
that
win.
pressure on the quarterback. Don't give him the time to throw it.
Could you imagine trying to chase around Justin Jefferson for 10 seconds?
No, you'd be exhausted. you
Right?
know?
Yeah, this is crazy. But one guy I am excited that they were able to keep was Isaiah McDuffie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm glad that they are able to keep him as well. I think we heard his name called a lot during games last year for making plays and get some more development from him and everything too. I think he's on his way to having a great career.
Yeah, I hope Kenny Clark has a rebound year this year because he wasn't as effective as he has been in the past for us.
Yeah, maybe with some more, more and different dynamic players around him, maybe that will kind of boost him up a little bit and we'll see some bigger plays.
Right. And another guy that was doing really good before he got hurt last year was Devontae Wyatt on the line.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know where he is with his injury status and all that, but hopefully on his way to full recovery and ready to go for the start of the season, and we can see more of him.
That and Quay Walker. He was
Yeah,
kind of he
yeah.
was kind of off and on last year, so I don't know. Hopefully
He
he
was.
has
He
a
had some
good
games
year.
where he was real hot, and then some where he just didn't do much at all. And I think he's got the capability to go big every game, and I'd like to see more of it.
Right. Yeah, that you get some of those guys clicking, give them a couple. I'm excited to see what happens this next year. Um, with the draft being in Green Bay, do you have any family that's going to be going to the draft? Because you're from Minnesota, right?
I'm from Minnesota. My sister and her family lived in Green Bay for like 10-ish years. Her husband's from Wisconsin. So, now none of my family lives there anymore. So I don't know that anybody I know will be going. It would be so cool to be able to go. Are you going to go?
Um, I think so. I don't know how close I'm going to get to it, just
Hmm.
because big crowds of people and I don't get along too well,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it depends on how I'm feeling too. So
Yeah,
um,
I think there's a lot of people kind of doubting like what, why is this going to be in Green Bay? What can the city of Green Bay really do to accommodate this big of a crowd and make it a good time for everyone? But I think people are going to be very surprised. I hope that some really cool things come out of it and that's a good time for everyone.
well, if you block off, I mean, I don't know how familiar you are with like a whole with Green Bay, like Lombard. Once you like Ashland and
Hmm.
Highway 41, like run parallel, and in
Hmm.
between that, you have Lombardi and whatever is behind the stadium.
Hmm.
But if you block off a big square radius, like what they're showing, is
Hmm.
feasible. I
Yeah.
mean, they're gonna have. It's kind of hard to describe. The pictures are online, but I think it's possible. I mean, I think Green Bay is going to surprise a lot of people. They're going to show up and be like, "Wow, Green Bay really isn't that big," but they have a
Yeah.
lot to offer. I think, and that's the cool part. Another cool thing is going to be a lot of these like mom and pop like restaurants are going to just flooded and make good for them. They're going to make
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of
it's
money.
gonna give the
You know.
town some exposure, give the businesses some exposure, bring in some tourism dollars. I mean, I think overall it should be really, really good for the city and certainly good for the franchise to have this experience and be hosting and everything. So hopefully we draft well. It seems like we have been doing all right with our draft picks, and so hopefully that trend continues too, and we can get some good players out of it. Having it in the hometown. So.
Right. I was watching this weekend is the girls' state high school basketball championship or different state whatever finals whatever it is, and they're having it at the Resch Center, which is right across the street from Lambeau. So at halftime of these games, they have Mark Murphy was on there, and they're talking about the draft and like what the economic impact it's going to have for Green Bay,
Mhm.
and he said that they estimate it's going to be like $94 million in revenue for Green Bay and the surrounding area, and they said
Wow.
to put that into perspective, each home game for the Packers is like 14 to 15 million. So it's
Wow.
like
Yeah.
6 home games.
Hmm.
So that's crazy just to think about,
Yeah.
you know, um, the kind of impact it's going to have for the surrounding areas. I know there's like 5, 6, 7 people that I follow that were mutuals on Twitter that are going to be in Green Bay, that we all plan on meeting up at some point and just for half hour, whatever, just to say hey. And like I said, I'm not sure
Yeah.
how close I want to get to the action, just because like with my back and my shoulder, I just don't want to get too you
Yeah,
know
not trying to get jostled around or anything.
right. But I'll probably be in the area at some point. I think Iowa Joe's going to be up. I know
Cool,
that
yeah.
Aaron Davis, he's another
Hmm.
guy that actually had a pod with him last week, and he's going to be there. Chuck Metz is going to be up. Mick Stevenson, um, Mr. First Down, he's a Titans fan. He's going to be up
Hmm.
from Tennessee. I think
Cool.
he said, and I think his wife went to school with Taylor Swift.
Oh
I
my
think he said,
gosh.
yeah, at one. But yeah, there's
Yeah.
like I said, a handful of people that are going to be up here. I think it's going to be cool just to meet up with them just for a little bit and hang out and
Yeah,
show
for
them
sure.
Green
I,
Bay.
I look forward to your pictures and your media that's gonna come out from that experience. So I'm sure you'll get
Oh
some good
God,
ones and
I'm gonna
share them
photo
with all
dump.
of us. So
Right, it's gonna be crazy.
yeah.
But but
And it's
yeah,
just wild to think of like a huge event like that going down like just down the street. I mean, just
right.
it's right in the hometown. That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, like I always say, I'm like a 10-minute drive. Going
Hmm.
over the speed limit to get to Lambeau. So it's I'll have my wife drop me off at the corner of Lombardi and Ashland, and I'll walk my way towards Lambeau and see how close I can
Yeah.
get before I get sick of people.
Oh, it's so exciting. I'm so jealous I can't come, but that sounds exciting.
Hopefully the weather will be nice. It's a ways out, and we've had days here. It's been highs have been like 68, 69,
Okay.
and then like today's like in the mid 40s. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
bipolar right now in Wisconsin, but what else do you expect? It's Wisconsin. It's crazy.
exactly. Exactly. Hopefully there's a little bit of a warming trend and everybody stays dry and all that.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully, I have a plan. Hopefully, they have a plan if it rains out, because I mean they have a coverage stage and everything. But it's just going to be the
Hmm.
people watching what's going on that are gonna um, be affected.
Yeah. It'll
So
just be so fun
you're a
for the
big
city to
Sooners
do it
fan,
up big.
right? You're a big Sooners fan, right? So is there any
Yeah.
exciting news going on in the
Well,
college sports landscape?
as of now, SEC tournament's going on. Unfortunately, OU has been eliminated. from the tournament. We did beat two teams going in. We beat Texas and we beat Georgia, and we lost to Kentucky by 1 point. So many of our losses this year have been, by 5 points or less. It's just been heartbreaking. We could have a totally different record than we do have. I think we've won 20 games. And with our head coach is Porter Moser, and he came from Loyola. I think this is his fourth season with OU, and has yet to be into the tournament. And so, of course, we're waiting for Selection Sunday tomorrow, and so hopefully this will be the year that we'll break that barrier and get into the tournament. And I think, watching them play, just because the games are so close, I mean, this is a team that I would be nervous to meet next week if we are selected. So hopefully that goes well. Our women's team is doing really well. I'm not sure exactly where they're at in the tournament, but they're definitely they're ranked. I think they were ranked 13th last time I checked, like nationwide. So, got some momentum there. They should have no problem being in the tournament. And then, of course, football off season happening, spring ball and all that. So just gearing up for another big football season. Hopefully it goes a little bit more our way this year. We've had a couple of heartbreaking seasons where we're getting a bowl game, but we're not winning the bowl game, and we're certainly not anywhere near playoffs or anything. And when the playoff format first started for collegiate football, we were in it for 4 years in a row. And so, with the expansion of the playoff teams, you would think we'd be right there again, but we've had a little bit of regression in our offense, just trying to find the right fits and everything. And we have a new quarterback coming in. That is a transfer on our new offensive coordinator. I think they are coming from Washington State, maybe. Ben Arbuckle is the new OC, and then John Mateer is a new quarterback. And of course, they're both already on campus, and John has been out pumping up other sports at big sporting events. And so the footage I've seen of him at practice so far has looked great. So I'm excited for another football season, and I'm ready to be hurt again.
Yeah,
So
right. Yeah,
yeah.
so like with the Badgers, their football team is usually really good. I think they made a mistake when they went to Phil Longo out of North Carolina as their offensive coordinator, because he was like the air raid offense, which is like just pass, and
Yeah.
Wisconsin's always been run heavy. So why would you go away from something that was successful to run it off? I mean, it just took away the whole identity of the Badgers, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well,
they've lost quarterbacks in the transfer portal. They've gained quarterbacks in the transfer portal.
mhm.
It's so hard with the college landscape to recruit now, because it's not even about like the school; it's about the money.
Yeah,
And
yep. We
that
recently OU hired Jim Nagy to be our general manager. So I'm hoping that will be a good investment, and that he can get some more kind of NFL caliber people in there to help us out a little bit. That was a kind of a big splash, big hire for us at general manager. So I'm excited to see where that goes too. I mean, and you
yeah.
almost have to do that in this current landscape of NIL and everything. You've got to have um, a good general manager to kind of, make sure all that's going how it should. So.
So I just don't get how someone. I mean, the one funny thing is I always root for underdogs, right? So it's like you're so used to like the Alabamas and the Georgias
Mhm.
and the Michigan, Ohio States always being so good for so long, that you get coaches that it's funny to see them like trying to like justify like losing, and it's like that now teams
Mhm.
are doing what you guys have been doing for so long that you can't handle it. How long do you think these teams are paying these players before it actually became a thing?
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, I'm certain that there are violations up and down the board. But there's really no way to tell. It's not like all these teams are going to self-report. So, at least now with NIL, you're not breaking any rules. So I guess that's a good thing. But I think it has definitely changed the landscape of college football, and the way that commitment works, the way that signings work. A commitment really doesn't mean much, I think, these days, because if you're not happy, you can just get paid to go somewhere else the next season. And so I think like the longevity of players is something that we're seeing a little bit of a decline in. But good programs will always pull good players, and so hopefully that can continue.
And that's the same thing like at Wisconsin basketball. So
Hmm.
like they were they were picked to finish 12th in the Big Ten this year. Well, that's considering the Big Ten added all the teams from the
Hmm.
West Coast, from the Pac-10, like
Yeah.
Oregon, Washington, or Oregon, UCLA, USC, whoever else, and they lost. They lost AJ Storr to Kansas. He was their best player last year, and
Hmm.
there was rumor that they were offering him like $1 million, so he left. Chucky Hepburn left. He was one of the top defensive players, and no one gave him a chance. Well, here they are. They knocked off Michigan State today in the Big Ten tournament. You know,
Yeah, you just never
it's
know. You
it,
know?
I mean, yeah, it might come on the money, but I look at it as you got to look at the program as a whole. Like, what does this program produce? What kind of players does this coach produce? Everyone's always like Greg Gard. They've always, you got the fair weather fans that, oh, when he's doing good, he's the greatest coach. But when he has maybe a bad game, I'll fire him, fire him, fire him, get rid of it. The whole. It's just like,
Yes,
give him
there
a
is just
chance.
no forgiveness anymore in college sport. They've been calling for our coaches' heads for years. I mean, it's just because we're not winning a national championship every year. Well, I mean, that's really hard to do. It's only one team that can win every year, right? So I just think fans are so fickle. They really get disappointed so easily, and of course, calling for everyone's heads after a loss is pretty common. But I'm happy to see some of the administrators just sort of sticking with these people that they feel are good, and fans could be a little bit more forgiving.
Right, and even so, like Luke, you mentioned Fickle, so the Badgers coach Luke Fickle popped into my head, and I mean, he's in like he's going into his third year, I think, and like everyone's like trying to give up on him. It's like he doesn't even have a full cycle of recruits that he recruited coming
Exactly.
in, and he came in when the NIL it was like a mess, and it's like you got to try to. It people think it's so easy, but yet here they are, trying to justify like their ideas on what he should be doing, and like this off season they gave him an extension. Well, he hasn't proven anything. Well, it's like it's he has a great football mind. He came from Ohio State when they were in their heyday. He was.
Yeah, yeah.
You got to give him a chance. You got to give him more than 3 4 years.
Right.
It's
These things that need repair, like it does not happen overnight. I mean, fans often think that, oh, new coach is going to come in, bring everyone in, we'll just fix it immediately. Well, you have to develop chemistry. You have to get your own guys in there, like you said. Unless you've been through a whole 4 year cycle, like that is not. Those are not the players that you signed. So give it time, let it work itself out. I absolutely understand extending for a fourth season, maybe longer, and just kind of see what it looks like moving forward when he does have his own guys in there, and see what they can do together. So we're kind of in a similar situation with our head coach, with Brent Venables. I mean, he obviously is a great defensive mind. He'll be calling the defense again this year. We did not hire a defensive coordinator. So he's got to put a lot of trust in his support staff and all that. But we've had 3 seasons now with him. And a lot of the fans are upset because, like I said, we're not getting to the playoff. We're not winning the national championship. And OU is a blue blood program, and we're supposed to be doing that. But you have to give somebody time, especially when you're turning over rosters every year. You get people going to the portal, you get people going to the NFL. Like, you have to rebuild it every year almost. I mean, yes, you have your centralized, like, core staple players that you want to build around, but you've got to keep those guys happy too. You've got to make sure that they stay healthy. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. And fans are so quick to turn on people. It just kind of makes me sad sometimes.
yeah. You mentioned the NIL. It's crazy. So last year Wisconsin had a freshman corner Xavier Lucas, who was like probably one of their best young talent on defense they had. He had a great year. And this offseason, there was rumblings that he was going to leave, and all of a sudden, this thing came out there where he was the big deal where the Wisconsin's not granting me my transfer and this and that and this and that, and I'm thinking it doesn't sound like something Wisconsin would do. There's got to be a reason behind why they're keeping him from transferring, and there in Wisconsin, comes out that Miami was tampering with him, and he signed the NIL contract for 2 years, and he was, I don't know if it was he didn't fulfill his 2 years or he didn't pay back. There's got to be some type of basic thing with this NIL transfer portal. The transfer portal should be, you should, NIL, you should have to sign a contract and live up to the contract.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to get out of it, whatever years you want to avoid out of that contract, you should be held out for that year just to make these kids more loyal. I mean,
Well, right.
you're
Yeah.
gonna have a
Yeah.
whole generation of athletes growing up that are gonna just, I'm not happy here. I'm just gonna walk away and leave. That's not what you do.
Right.
You honor your
That's not
commitment.
teaching commitment. That's not teaching responsibility. I mean, used to, if you wanted to transfer, like, you had to sit out a year, especially if it was in conference. Like, you had to sit out a year. And that's no longer a thing. I don't believe. I think they can just kind of freely go where they're wanting to go. And I don't know why the NCAA is hesitant to kind of backtrack this a little bit, and put some more regulations in place, because it is like the Wild West out there right now, in terms of NIL. Like, I don't know. I guess I would like to see this, probably an unpopular opinion, but a little bit more regulation, I think, from NCAA. Otherwise, like, what is really separating us from the pros? Like, it's just not. I think, college sport is supposed to be different than professional sport. And at this point, it's looking like mini pro football, especially when you're having to build front offices with GMs and everything. And it's just looking more and more like mini pro. And I think a lot of times the student part of the student athlete gets left out of that equation. So
Yeah, it's
I
just
would like to see a
athlete.
little bit more
I
regulation.
mean, what kind of a student athlete is it when they have pretty much a tutor doing their work for them? I mean, it's just
Right.
ridiculous. It's they're not even. What time do they have to even go to school?
Yeah, and obviously there's eligibility requirements, and you have to be passing your classes and passing so many credits per year as you progress. Exactly. So that's what they're gonna claim is driving this. Oh yes, there are standards, but I mean, I don't know. Those bigger schools and the athletic departments, like they've got, with all the money they've got tutoring centers, they've got all these resources that smaller teams don't have. And so also one thing that sticks out in my mind too is like it's the haves and the have-nots, right, in college sport. And so if you're from a school that doesn't have a lot of NIL money, you don't have a lot of booster donations, that kind of stuff, like you're falling to the wayside, and we're seeing the stronger teams get stronger and the weaker teams get weaker. And so it's just kind of disheartening overall, in my opinion. But
I was watching college game day one morning. They had Nick Saban was a panel guest host, and well, I think he was a regular on there.
yeah, he is
Anyway,
now. Yep.
anyway, like if there were one person, I shoot me for saying this. If there were one person in college football landscape or college landscape that I would want to regulate how the NIL works, it would be him because he had really good points on what should and shouldn't be done.
Hmm.
I think he gave up coaching just for the simple fact that he was just sick of battling the money.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely. I think it's going to be interesting too to see Belichick at North Carolina and see what that looks like.
you bring up a good point. Belichick in North Carolina. I don't know if it's true or not, but I saw an article like he he made sure that they CC'd in his girlfriend
I saw
to,
that, and I'm like, is that real? Because that's real weird if it if
to
it
manage
is.
its social media
Oh
stuff.
yeah, like is she an employee of the athletic department? Is she getting paid for this too? Like, what are we doing here?
Right? That's crazy. But yeah, I just think there's got to be rules and regulations for the for the portal and for the NIL. I think like for all Division One football teams, basketball teams, there's got to be some type of salary cap. There's got to be some type of limit to where they can't one player can't make more than the other. They've got to be like an equal.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah. And I think it came from a place of like, okay, we're having violations of people getting paid when they're not supposed to get paid. So okay, we're gonna lift everything, and NCAA just go wild, do whatever. And I think we kind of need to scale it back a little bit so that there is some equity and some fairness in here, and just it isn't the bigger teams eating the smaller teams.
right, and that's why, like I said, I always root for the underdogs, just because I'm so sick of seeing, you know, Godzilla always winning, or
Yeah.
not Goliath always winning and knocking down the smaller teams. So that's why March Madness is so fun in basketball because you see all these like upsets and the conference tournaments and the buzzer beaters and
Mm-hmm.
all that. And it's always funny. I always, you know, it's just so funny to see like people always knocking Wisconsin and other teams, and they always come up to show, put their foot in their mouth,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm interested to see like how far Wisconsin can go and what kind of what they can do. Like you were talking a little bit before the show about their play today and everything. So hopefully it goes well for them. I'd like to see him go pretty far.
Yeah, a lot like today's game. It came down to like the last 2 minutes of the game, and they were able to come out on top. It was Izzo's a really good coach at Michigan State, and he just looked like he was just dumbfounded on towards the end of the game, like he didn't know what to do. And like everyone always discredits Greg Gard, but his track record, I mean, it speaks for himself.
Mhm.
You know, so it's after losing, a couple years ago, we lost Johnny Davis to the draft. I mean, like I said, we lost Chucky Hepburn, we lost AJ
Mhm.
Storr, a couple other guys transferred, and we got a couple other guys in. One of the guys this today that had a big game was a former walk on. I
Mhm.
mean, some of these guys, you come and this is like what they come for. It's games like today, and
Yeah.
I'm so sick of seeing these guys that are like one and done, one and done. I always think of like how Tyler Harrow now he plays for the Miami Heat, but he's from like the Milwaukee area.
Hmm.
Uh, he originally committed to Wisconsin, and then he flipped his commit to Kentucky. He played for a year. Now he's in the pros. But I'm almost glad he didn't come to Wisconsin because he would have came and shown us a glimpse, gotten our hopes up, and then left us. It's like I'd
Yeah,
rather have
yeah.
guys come for either like their final year of eligibility or come for a solid 2 to 3 years, and then if you're gonna go pro, go pro. I just it's sometimes it makes it hard to root for college sports sometimes because it's
Yeah.
changed so much.
Yeah, it can. I mean, we've got a 18-year-old true freshman that's the star of our team right now, Jeremiah Fears, and I anticipate to be a one and done. And I'm thinking like, okay, you're 18 years old, like you're really gonna go into the NBA draft, and like, I feel like, would you rather stay at school and also earn money and continue to play, or do you want to go play in the G League until you're developed enough to go in the NBA? Because at this point, like those guys are going to run circles around you because they're much bigger. You're 18 years old. Like I just don't see the value in the one and done. So I didn't there used to be a rule where they had to play 2 years of college basketball before they could go to the draft, or has it always been
I think it was like an age, and yeah, I think it was
okay?
2 or 3 years. It's because it's so dumb because you get a lot of these guys. Even like go back to the state of Wisconsin, they had the kid named Diamond Stone who went to I think Dominican, which is outside Milwaukee. Big
Mm-hmm.
guy. Like Wisconsin was recruiting him, Maryland was recruiting him,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he couldn't get into Wisconsin because of his grades. I think he went to
Okay.
Maryland. He was like one and done, and he got drafted to the Sacramento Kings and disappeared. It's like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you want to go to like a program and concrete your name,
Yeah, and get some development,
get
get
some
some development as
development?
a player so you're ready to take those skills with you. At this point, I don't feel like 1 year of college ball is really preparing them. I
But
mean,
it's not, and a lot of these kids are after the money, and then that's
mhm,
that's what it is. That's what they've grown up seeing. And
mhm.
I think too, I think AAU's ruined college basketball.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, you get all these
Like
teams, you get these coaches that tell these kids they're so good, they're so good, they're so good, and then, it's just, I just, I've had this discussion with other people too, and they've had the same kind of thought as I had. It's just AAU is like, I don't know. I just think it's it's a funneling system. Like, I guess I can't
mhm,
complain really because there's a couple of kids from local that were in actually Tyler Harrell actually started an AAU team
mhm.
called Team Harrell that these kids from up here are on. So, but still, for every few good ones, you get the bad ones. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you get into the NBA, and then I think the play of the game gets softer because they're all buddy buddy. And I
Mhm.
just I could say I could go on about the NBA and how soft I think they are, and the phantom whistles. And there's a game Tyrese Halliburton from Oshkosh
Mhm.
plays for the Pacers. A few nights ago, he had a last second 3-pointer against the Bucks. The Bucks are up by three with like 5 seconds to go. He made a 3-pointer, got a foul, but he caught the ball and took like 3.5 steps. And then they call it travel. It's like, well, what are you doing? And I just and you get like I said, like I said, you get a lot of these guys that are buddy buddies with each other. I just think it
Mhm.
ruins the image of the game, and then the Luka Doncic trade to the Lakers, and all of a sudden magically the ratings are going up. You can't tell
Wild.
me that wasn't fixed by the NBA.
Right.
Because they were
Right. It was
tanking
just
with
the
their
weirdest
ratings.
thing. Like, why would you do that?
I
Why would
mean,
Dallas do that?
and their ratings in the NBA were tanking. Now all of a sudden they're going up. Well, gee, I wonder why. I remember back when Chris Paul played for the Pelicans, and the
Mhm.
NBA stopped a trade from him going from the Pelicans to the Lakers. What's the difference with this last trade?
Yeah.
It just they can't make sense of it, and it's just frustrating.
Yeah. But I'm just sitting back enjoying watching the OKC Thunder. They're having obviously a phenomenal season. I hope that all this momentum carries forward into postseason and we do what I think we can do. So it's been a really fun ride to watch them this season.
They got to make sure they keep getting Alexander to the free throw line.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Bucks played good against them in the in season tournament,
Yeah, they did. Yeah, yeah.
but the Bucks got to be healthy, and I'm kind of shocked they got rid of Chris Middleton, but I think overall they've benefited from it. They've gotten some good
Yeah.
young players, and
And sometimes I think that's what it takes. You don't want to see, your big players and your star players and have to move on. But if you're getting players that you can develop and increase the longevity of your team, I think that that can be good sometimes. Not fun
one
for
person,
fans to see, of course, but
right? One person that I hope stays a Buck for life is Giannis.
yeah, I think
I,
so. I hope so too. Yeah,
I think he
it
will
seems
because I
like.
think you can see the similarities between Milwaukee and Greece. It's like he grew up being loyal. Then he got
Hmm.
drafted to the into the U.S. for to play for the Bucks, and they showed him loyalty. And it
Hmm.
shows that if you put in hard work, you get rewarded. And I think he's going to be a Buck for life. I hope he's a Buck for life. If not, I hope they get a hell of a trade for him.
Yeah, feel the same way about SGA. I hope we get to keep him for the rest of his career. But yeah, Giannis, I think obviously is a big draw for Bucks fans, and like you said, it seems like there's the loyalty kind of going both ways, and so I think that's what again creates longevity in a career with a particular franchise is treat him right. So it seems like they have been, and he seems very happy there. So it's gone well for him so far, obviously.
Right. Um. Is there? So last time we talked to you, what were you doing with diving again? You were.
Yeah. So I coached NCAA diving at Division two level for 15 seasons. I was coaching for Oklahoma Baptist University at the close of the 2021 season, and our program was cut along with seven other sports at the school that year. Call it a casualty of COVID or whatever of the NIL era, I guess. But our program was cut, and so kind of a way that I stay connected with the sport is that I'm asked to come and be an officiant for the NCAA championships each season. And so I just came back from Indy earlier this week where they're holding championships, and I think well, on Tuesday I scored 540 dives. So that was wild. That's a lot of diving. There were 45 men and 36 women. And so yeah, I'm grateful to be able to be included every year in that, and it really helps me to stay connected to the sport and former colleagues and everything by participating that way. And I'll tell you, it is a lot less stressful to be there as an official than it is to be there as a coach. So now it's just kind of fun time for me to go and do that, and it's something I really enjoy doing.
Do you run into people that you've met in the past at
Oh
these
yeah,
competitions?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Ironically, so obviously I'm from Minnesota, as you know. And so this particular meet, there were 14 officials, and I think seven of them were either from or had ties to Minnesota. So that was wild. Like
Yeah.
over half of us were, Minnesota people. And so of course, we all run in the same circles. We know the athletes, we know each other as coaches and as officials. And so it is really fun to reconnect with them every year and to be part of that. So yeah, it's a good time.
Obviously, that's a paid gig, right? You get paid like per diem, and you get hotel and all that.
Oh
That's
yeah, yep,
awesome.
yep. Per diem, get paid. Of course, you gotta go through all the background checks and everything like that, just like you do for coaching and everything. So, I'm really fortunate to still be a part of it and to have this avenue to still be a part of the sport I love.
Yeah, I had to do background checks for coaching here at youth basketball.
Yeah, yep.
Like, oh my god, how far are they going back? Just kidding. I'm not a bad person. I've turned my life around. I promise.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you had some interesting. Didn't you have some success with your coaching this season? And particularly, don't you have certain coaches, kids, players on your team?
Well, that was a few years ago. I had LaFleur's kid on my team, but
Yeah.
this year, no, we won more than we lost.
Okay, there you go.
That's a plus. I had a good
Yeah.
time. A great group of kids. Always fun to be around. Um, they I don't know. They seem to enjoy it, so that's all I can. See them out there playing. They having a smile on their face, and
Yeah.
you know, it gets to the point like if they get upset, you just kind of gotta every once in a while you gotta throw in like a life lesson for them. And they're like,
Hmm.
you're not always gonna get your way in life, but you guys gotta learn to learn from your win, learn from your loss, and move on. And they seem to
Yeah.
get the grasp pretty good. So.
Yeah, it's
uh,
and it's so important to have coaches, good coaches like that can instill those lessons. So I'm glad you enjoy doing it. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. Yeah, it's kind of cool to coach in a program that the last 5 6 years has been pretty successful, and they've been successful in the past too. But they actually the high school team I was watching before I went on with you was
Hmm.
they were number one in the state in their division, and they lost to a really good team. But
Hmm.
before today's loss, the only other loss they had was against a team that had there's a kid on Duke this year, uh,
Hmm.
Con Knipple. He's like
Oh.
a phenom. He's like
Hmm.
they lost to that team last year to go to state, and then he graduated and went to Duke. But I think he has like three brothers and a cousin on this team,
Of
and they're just
course.
so good. But no, they
Yeah.
lost to this other team from out of Oshkosh North today. That was really they just had a good game, but
Yeah.
it's just fun to you know socialize with some of these coaches and meet new people and
Mhm.
have
Yeah.
connections up here that are cool. So
Absolutely. And I'm sure it means so much to the kids that are taking part in it too. So
yeah, they have like things where they'd have like youth basketball night where they like so it's like second grade through eighth grade youth
Mhm.
basketball and the pier is huge. The booster club is huge. They always put on these different things for the kids and like they give them like chances to like pick a game to like come out at halftime and like scrimmage against a different you pick two grade like teams and they
Yeah.
scrimmage for like 5 6 minutes and you got kids running around on
Oh,
both
that's so
halves of the
cool.
court and then they have like kids come up and they line the whole outside of the outline of the court and they teams come out and they give the kids fives and it's just to do a lot. I mean it's cool to
Yeah.
see how the community involves the youth programs because that's the youth is what's the future. So I mean it's cool,
Mhm. Yeah, and then those are experiences that those kids are going to remember. I mean, to be down on the floor in that big arena and to be part of it and be part of all the excitement, like that's they're going to remember and hopefully help push them forward in the sport so they're seeing what's possible. So that's
Yeah,
really cool.
it's like cool. It's like I root for Wisconsin, but I also root for Marquette because I talk about being like in youth basketball and stuff. I remember being in youth basketball, and I can't remember if it was like JV or not JV. What am I trying to think? Like middle school, fifth grade, sixth grade,
Mhm.
seventh grade, whatever it was. And Shaka Smart, who was the coach of Marquette, was played basketball at the school I went to.
Oh
So I
wow.
remember going to like games, watching him play, and
Yeah.
then seeing his success at Marquette has been awesome. Just to know there's a lot of backstory on like what he went through to get where he's at and what he's been through when he was young, and so it's kind of cool to have those small town connections. Coming from a town of
Yes.
like I can't think at the time it was like what 10,000 people, 8,000 people. It's
Mhm.
huge now, but yeah, just it's always like I said, I always root for the underdog,
Yeah,
always
I love a good success story filled with resiliency. I love that. So totally understand.
for sure. What are you expecting the Packers to do in the draft?
I don't know. I think, I think you're right in your thought that about drafting defensive players. So I think, that's kind of what we're going to be eyeing. Um, Other than that, maybe some more OL, I guess. I know everybody is always focused on the receivers. I don't think we need to draft any more of them. I think we're probably okay with where we are right now. But yeah, I would expect them to focus more heavily on defense this year.
Yeah, so I think we're good with the receivers. Before DK got traded to the Steelers, I was
Hmm.
thinking, maybe it'd be nice, maybe like a second round pick and maybe Dontavian Wicks, only
Hmm.
on the only on the fact that DK was signing an extension for like
Hmm.
4 or 5 years, which would make it worth the trade in my eyes. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad we don't have him. It'd be nice, but we got to have money. I mean, I know we're getting more salary cap this year, and it'd be nice to have money to spread throughout our team, and maybe go out and we could do like a mid-season trade,
Yeah.
possibly. Maybe that's what they're thinking.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess I've learned to sort of trust the process and what they're doing in Green Bay right now. I feel like what they're building is really good, and I obviously our guys are young, but I feel like each year that we go forward, it's progressing a little bit, and I am excited to see what the future holds for us. But yeah, I do think that their main focus will be on the defensive side of the ball in the draft. So maybe some
Yeah,
more I don't know, edge men or something. We'll
get some
see.
edge rushers, and that way,
Yeah.
get some edge rushers and get a rotation, get a good, decent, healthy rotation of guys that want
Mhm.
to go out there and smack the quarterback.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
build some depth at those positions for sure in case we deal with any injury or anything. I think that'd be a good thing to do. So get
get
them
some
developed
guys on
and
the line
yeah.
that create a double team, and that way you can
Mhm.
free up your linebackers to get to the quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like I said, I'd like to see more sacks, and I think that's the way you do it. So
Right? Yeah, I think I just maybe if we do draft a receiver, I want to draft like a gadget receiver, like a fast one, like a
mhm.
Jaden Reed type
Mhm.
receiver.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
hopefully faster, maybe that'd be awesome.
Yeah, maybe, I think, he had a little bit of a I don't want to say like slump this year because he's so good, but I think there were a few games where he didn't quite do as well as he could have, and so I'm hoping that some more development from him too, and we'll continue to see those big catches and those big plays. And hopefully the rest of our core can stay healthy. So
Yeah, and I hope too, like within, I know obviously we're not in their shoes, but some of the play calling, like some of these tosses and double
mhm.
reverses and stuff, get away from that. Just run the damn ball and
Yeah.
and just I don't know. It's sometimes I think some of these play calling gets too predictable. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you have Jacobs, he can run it. Let him do it, let him do it, and then surprise the other team with some throws here and there. But I think you're right. The gimmicky stuff just doesn't seem like it's really working. So,
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think Nate Hobbs will make an impact, and I think Aaron Banks will make a huge impact on the line. I think what I've been reading is they're going to move because you lost Josh Myers.
hmm
I think we drafted a center last year. I can't
yeah, I
remember,
think so. I think so.
but they talked about moving Jenkins to center,
hmm
Elton Jenkins, which
Yeah,
I think wouldn't
yeah.
be a bad idea.
Might as
But
well try it.
right, and I agree with you as well as drafting offensive linemen because you never know when someone's going to get hurt. And the
hmm
Packers always have seen to have a knack of filling in and having people that fill in be successful. So I'm not
hmm
against them drafting because I trust their draft process, like you said.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think it'd be great to see some more depth at OL. So hopefully we can go get some good players there too. I don't know how many picks do we have this year. I don't even know.
Hold on, hold on. Station timeout. Hold on.
I mean, they've got to have quite a few to work with. So, I mean, you should be able to do a multitude of things this year.
8 selections.
Okay. Well, that's 8 chances to do something cool then. Hopefully it happens.
Right? Absolutely. All right. Well, I thank you for being on today. I'm going to wrap up the show for today.
Um,
Again, thanks for being on. We'll have to get you back on after the draft and get your opinion on the draft and see what you think about
yeah.
it.
Yeah, that'd be really fun. Again, I'm so excited to see all of your pictures and media coming out of the draft and to see, everybody that's close to Green Bay, what it looks like down there. And sad I can't be there, but yeah, thank you for having me on. It's a blast as always, and happy to come back and talk draft capital once it's over.
Absolutely. Where can people find you at?
They can find me at Lindsey and OK on Twitter/X. Same handle on Instagram.
Awesome. And you can find me at cheesetalk_pod on Twitter. I want to give a shout out to the Open Network, Iowa Joe, Mike, Aaron, for giving me, Iowa Joe and Mike, the head of Open Network, for giving me the platform and the ability to podcast under their brand. Appreciate it. You can find them at Ohana_Packers on Twitter. And you can find them online at ohanapackers.org. There's a lot of great articles, recipes. Speaking of Joe, you got to put my game day chili recipe on there yet. And articles, you can find my YouTube stuff on there. Anything, yeah. Again, thank you for being on, Lindsey. Like I said, I'll get a hold of you after the draft, and we'll get something set up to be on.
Sounds great. Had a blast as always.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Thanks.